Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is Jean McDonald at Transition Tip Tuesday. Well, in my email yesterday, I was talking about discovering and sharing these stories that we hold inside ourselves. Often, they're secrets, they're events that we might still find shameful in our lives that we've never shared with anybody. Now, why is that? Why aren't we allowing these stories to come up? Because it can be very painful for them to stay inside. It's almost like they fester because they're not being allowed to heal. So this week, as part of your transition, because any kind of transition in life creates story, but you might have some stories from past transitions, from past events that are still festering inside you. One of the reasons I even became a life coach is I had a story that I held inside I had never shared with anybody. And I shared that story with a coach, a therapist. And instead of validating that story or just even listening without comment, that person kind of dismissed my story. And that caused me even greater pain because here I hadn't shared that story with anybody. And then I finally do, and it gets dismissed. Like, well, that's not a big deal. Well, it was a big deal to me at the time. It might not be the most horrific story on the planet, but it was horrific for me at that time of my life. So the benefit of that is because of that, I thought, well, I could be a better life coach than that person. And I ended up going to coach trainings. And now that I've done my third training, I feel like I can be a really great coach to almost anybody. But that's not the point of this. The point is allowing that story to come out. And by the way, I did share that story with a more professional coach. And immediately I was validated. Immediately there was that relief, that validation that all the junk, all that festering was suddenly gone, and that story was okay inside. Now, I haven't had a big need to keep sharing that story with people, but the important thing is that it finally got resolved. So, how do you let these stories out? Well, first, you might just try writing them down or recording them on your phone or another device and just start to verbalize the story, start to let it release. If you're feeling comfortable, you can begin to share it. Now, in a couple weeks with Toastmasters on the 25th in the evening, I'm going to be actually doing a workshop in which we share these stories. And they can be any kind of story, but you share your story in a 3-minute segment. And you have two other people in the room with you, and they can ask questions. They can be curious how you felt. They could give you feedback. They could say how that story affected them. And then we switch and we tell that story again to two different people. And then we switch again, we tell that story to two other people. And your story's going to change. Your perspective on the story will change. And you're getting feedback of how that story can actually help other people. Being in Toastmasters, I've seen so many times where someone will just get up and give a talk about themselves, and they won't think it's that significant, yet it can be life changing for someone in the audience. And it's beautiful to see. And it's beautiful when that those two people connect and that person can tell the other person how that story has opened them up in a certain way. So, sharing our stories is not only a way to heal ourselves, but it can be a way to heal others. Sharing stories in your family can be a way of family members making sense of the family dynamic. If they don't know the stories or the deep feelings of the people in the family, They make assumptions. Oh, grandma was always crazy or grumpy or sad. Well, there was a reason behind that sadness, and sometimes we never learn what that is. So share your stories as a way of healing. And like I said, if they're too personal to share, share them with yourself and put them somewhere, and maybe eventually it'll be time to share with others. Anyway, more on my workshop that I'll be doing for Toastmasters will be posted here in Facebook, as well as you can always go to jeanmcdonald.com and find other information what I'm doing, or sign up and get the weekly notice on Mondays. So anyway, take care, have a fabulous week, and think about what stories you would like to bring out. Which stories would you like to tell? Till next week. See you. Bye bye.